Alright, hello there YouTube, this is Mr. Pokemon 907 and this is now episode 18 of my Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak playthrough. Now before I start, I mentioned briefly in one of my episodes about these and sadly I was incorrect. You're not getting the full game when you download these. I was just scrolling through the free section and I'm not surprised it happened, but I am surprised none of the logos, the icons say anything about being a demo, and it's like you get a limited time trial of playing through the cloud version of the games, and you're given a pass to play the free game, for purchase after you play a certain amount of time. They're demos, they're freaking demos, and I mean, Nintendo really needs to work on that, especially this one. Nothing gets you to think that. In fact, one you might just be thinking that I'm a total dumbass, but at least this one doesn't tell you anything. But this one says cloud version. On the, I'm quite sure it didn't though at some point. So I mean, this is Nintendo really needs to work on the way that they handle their demos and stuff. A lot of them on the, not everything does say. This one in particular doesn't tell you anything. Okay, it says cloud version. All right. When you see the scrolling there, it just says cloud version at the top. You can see up here where my finger is. It just says cloud version. So nothing about the demo. Okay, nothing about them being demos, just cloud versions. All right, so boot into this game and get this going. So I was scrolling through the free section of the eShop looking to see what they have that's free, and those were in there, and obviously they're not saying anything about being demos. Like, they're just, you when you literally go through the section and you actually press A on it, you just click download. There's nothing about download demo. It literally just says to get whatever game, and it never says that it's a demo. So that's crazy as hell what they did there. After you play, I guess maybe because it's a cloud video game, it's a cloud version game, and to stop someone from buying something that they can't even use if the internet is not good enough, you can't, you won't gain the access to the full game until you played a certain amount through the demo section. That's interesting though, but dang annoying, very annoying. All right, so I was playing through my own I was playing my own save file there, collecting some materials for, so we're at HR3 like quite really fast, huh? Like I said, this series is going to be way shorter than is, because I'm not bad at this at all. I was watching a video. Some people summarize what they believe. There's this idea that depending on your weapon type, the weapon that you choose for battling, mine is the dual blades for sure, right? You project a certain personality, and it's very true actually. You have a certain personality type that you project, for your choice of weapon, saying that the weapon, you did not choose the weapon chose you. And when I was just patiently waiting for the dual blade section, and it is very true. This person is thorough as hell. I think I'm gonna leave a link to that video in this video's description. This guy said that the dual blade wielders, just because there's no way to block, right? When you're fighting with the dual blades, you instinctively eventually end up learning all the openings for every monster. You study the monsters per se, right? So you when everyone else is running at some points, yeah, I didn't sort my items out in the previous episode. I just saved and went off the save file. uh, when everyone else is running, you in that monster's personal space and you are still attacking. You might have seen that you'll be hit from a move. You're the type of person who just keep attacking because you can. You might be able to see that you'll be hit from a move, still risk it and move in again. So The person didn't say this, but my idea is then if you're going up against a monster that is, you know, has a lot of health, or is, you know, take some dual blade wielders with you if you want something taken down maybe a bit faster or something, because they're going to be in there dashing away at that thing, especially if they already know the move, the way the monster moves and stuff. So what she says, thank you so much, MK907. You are the bestest. That picture he took for the the Bombaji of the Bombaji. I kind of changed my mind about cutting all the unnatural lighting off of the video. So let's see. I'm gonna turn this up a bit. You can see how quickly how blurry this thing gets, right? Too much light on the systems is part. This is a very sensitive cam that I have here. Very sensitive. So I'm gonna adjust this, actively adjust this right here. I'm not gonna turn it all the way down. I think that's gonna be fine. I think that should be fine. Perfect. Look at it. Isn't it so funny and cute? They're the best. I bet Shihaku will think they're cute once I show him this. Oh, by the way, I was talking to Hamon and Nakago at the smithy about how Bombaji are super cool and all. Then they showed me a really big hunting horn made from one. You should go see it, so cute, and you'd be the coolest hunter ever if you used it. Grass flute 1. Alright, so unlocked a weapon type. I don't use the freaking flute, so I think I'm gonna be skipping that. But alright, so have you ever heard of Arzuros? Yamoki told me that they look funny when they're sleeping. I wanna see one. I bet they're super cute. Do you think you could take a picture of a sleeping Arzuros for me, please? You'd be the bestest if you did. So whilst capturing some Arzuros, I could even do that in this episode. Is gonna be done in no time at all. Maybe from the village, and then move on to do what I was doing else. Let's see. This is a test. Really? Oh, what? Another? I didn't do it. So this is a third one that you know, showed up in the this is a third license test, maybe to get us directly to 4. I honestly don't think I'm ready for that. If I am, this is crazy too. So I'm gonna go then to the, you know, it had to be 2 then. Yeah, so 2, capture myself an Arzuros, take a picture. I know there's a useless freaking mission, and you believe the hell is this guy doing? But later down the road is gonna make sense. It's gonna make a lot of sense. The materials from these monsters all add up, you know, evenly. Alright, so let's see if I take my brightness all the way down, how it looks compared to. I guess that's a little better, honestly. But I really can't, you know, method of recording. Is it nighttime or is it early morning per se? What time is it? I just got up to record, to be honest, resting myself even. Oh, it's still nighttime, I guess. Most would call it morning already, but what else? So get these. Drop down here. Alright. Alright. You develop some reflexes and some skills after playing this game, to be honest. I've been watching people play World, and I was like, now I can see why certain people favor World. World is very simplistic in its mechanics compared to this, like, seriously simplistic. World and Worlds, to be honest. Because Worlds, I'd say, is like a Monster Hunter World 1.5. And there's a reason why I'm not calling it Monster Hunter World 2. But it is a revamped Monster Hunter World, honestly. The monsters are a bit too dang huge in the world, though. It's like they tried to make them to seem like all dinosaur-esque, and no freaking way. They look, it's like ridiculous when you compare the size of the monsters and that. I guess some people don't even realize, but the monsters are definitely a different size in there compared to, like, let's say this game. Yeah, definitely got one up here. So this is me taking a route. If this is the first episode I did here that you've watched, or you're new to Monster Hunter, especially, I'm just getting these things. This green one pushed my health bar up a bit. Collecting these. All right. I'm actively using my Joy-Con 1 controllers. So I'll show you what I mean. Let's go here, and you see those are the Joy-Cons from the Nintendo Switch 1. To me, these are the best performing controls in the freaking control list you can use with Switch 1 and Switch 2 so far. These are the best controls. These things are responsive as hell, like better technology. The Nintendo Switch was created before this economic hiccup, so the materials used and stuff. I'm beginning to wonder if people who get the Nintendo Switch too late, if they're still gonna get the quality, because I've got a V2 Nintendo Switch. That is a Nintendo Switch that has a revised model of the original Nintendo Switch 1, and the 5G, the Wi-Fi on it is so freaking like, it's strong as hell. Perfect. Like I said, these Joy-Cons are really fast. These controllers are fast as hell. This is V2 Joy-Cons that I'm using, and these things are times faster than the Switch 2 Joy-Cons, like when it comes to button input response. So this game, I find myself, never wanting to play this game with the Joy-Con 2 again. I mean, the Joy-Con 2 can be comfortable, I guess, this and that, the third, but I no freaking way am I going to be using those, because the input is laggy as hell. It makes no sense to me. Alright, hurry up and eat. Alright. And I'm already using the feral rage mode, feral demon mode. Alright, so that's the booty bump. Missed, of course. Make sure not to get hit by this thing's claws, of course. Alright, so dodge that. Beer hugging. Oh, the cat. That was just like, wait, the heck are you slashing at? I saw nothing. Alright, so right in the face as much as possible. I think I'm only hitting claws though. Oh, get from there. Possibly another beer hug. Or is it running? Oh, another booty bump. Seriously? Alright, so that's a large slash, I call him. Oh, that was definitely the cat just now. I think this is a bit loud. Dash attack. Make sure not to get slash. So this is, let's see, we're 15 minutes in. Turn my rage mode off that I could get my stamina back in due time. Alright, make sure not to slash. Alright, get an attack up from that. Oh shit. Oh, that was close. Alright, got him toppled again. Good stuff. I can't move. Okay, good. Alright, so already, ready for capture, so definitely worth it. I think it's going to run. I think it's possibly going to run here. So, oh, no way. Still fighting me? Alright. Captured for sure. So I'm going to use the camera. Oh my god, game. Oh my freaking god, game. I barely got it. I'm quite sure I barely got the photo. That's the one problem in this game, though. The doing these missions, the camera takes away all your time for doing anything after the monster drops. That is freaking ridiculous, man. That's fucking ridiculous. As hell. Alright. So there we go. I just wanted to do that side quest. It show, you know, it could have been a lot faster to get some materials whilst doing it. So yay, she's happy again. Alright, tell me that's it. Please tell me that's it. You really brought the picture for me. Oh, thank you. You really are the best. Wow, I always thought Arzors was scary, but in this picture, it looks too fluffy to be scary. Thanks so much for the nice photo, MK907. Oh, by the way, I heard Mr. Hamon and Mr. Nakago made a huge weapon that looks like a big fluffy bear. I told them that I wanted one, but they said I'm not old enough yet. Hey, if you want to see it too, you should go see them. So teddy bear design for the hammer. Okay. Alright, so at least this. And I need to restock my shot trap. And okay, I got some items in here as well. Alright, so let's go. This mission, I'd say, yeah, I also forgot to mention, I mentioned in the previous episode that I was guessing that I'm going to be out of memory. I was right on the dot. I barely made it before running out of memory. I did forget to delete the previous episode before recording, and I literally had like 600 and something megabytes left on that SD's memory. Like it was just about to run out when I stopped recording, when I finished the episode off. So like I barely made it. I was correct. I maybe was sensing something and I was like, oh no, like I think I forgot to delete. And I was so correct. I barely made it. So I'm gonna do this mission. Let's see, recovering the I'm going to be skipping through a lot of stuff, to be honest, this way. But you know what? That's Zenogre, Almudron, and Raphalos in one mission. So what I want to do instead, because I never did this. Yeah, I'm gonna accept this one. Don't forget to eat. I'm never using Bunny Dango in this game. Bunny Dango is for chumps. Like, quite literally. Just so that I could get this cutscene shown in this series, because it should. Come on. There we go. So this is the Anjanath cutscene.
But soon it is found, shivering in fear.
I honestly do believe that the Jewel-Blade Wielders are the best monster hunters.
When it looks around, its foes already here.
We're the best for sure. Because we've got no choice.
You have to get away.
We've got no choice but to fully learn every monster. So that's the proof right there. Holy shit. Being chased by a T-Rex is the worst thing, man. Relentless Ruffian, Anjanath. So this is effectively the only way to I just owned Anjanath in the hub, the other episode, you know, the episode before this. I'm gonna just finish this off, you know, quickly. And you know, villager quests are much easier than hub quests, so I'm gonna finish this off. You know, I just wanted the cutscene in here, progressive. The other monsters, you know, I'll come back to those that I didn't do in this. You know, the cutscene didn't show us yet. Then I'm gonna do those later down the road. I'm just gonna go back to the hub. I think I'm gonna, cause it's gonna make it to seem that I'm just trying my best to skip the challenge of the hub. You know, I'm skipping through, but this is a series where, to be honest, if I did the monsters already, if you get what I'm saying, I did the monsters already in the villager, and you've seen access, you've seen them, it makes no sense fighting them again just because, oh, it's a bit more difficult. Like, what's the reason then I've gotta have like enough reason. The story doesn't really pick up pace until later into the star ranking of the hub. So it makes no sense me fighting monsters multiple times just because, oh, this is more difficult, so I've got to record it. No way. I'm good enough to challenge even master rank 7 and stuff like that. So I kid you not, like, it makes no difference for me. At least I make my series more efficient. I'm not repetitively fighting monsters just because, and the story progresses as fast as possible for a YouTube series. That's what this is about, showcasing the games' content as well as, a little fun, right? Yeah, so definitely soon up with this section of the game, and the DLC is going to open soon enough. Alright, I thought I missed them. I think I collected everything from that jump. There we go. And then, for part of the route, you just maybe want to slide down. So this, I will show you what most people end up doing, but it'll definitely like cut some of the time on this mission, I think. So after jumping down there, more than 80% of people just continue. I follow a path up there and I run all the way around those caverns and I get my health bar and stuff is already pretty much I go up there. But after jumping down, most people will just come down here and slide down this way because this might guide them away as well. They see that and end up down this chasm. And this is a really nice, like, this is a really gorgeous area, to be honest. I mean, I'm recording it now with a cam and I have like realistic effects, visual effects going on here, so it's not as bright. You won't be able to see in here. Oh, you can. Looking at the camera now, you can. I don't have it turned all the way down, so you can still see in the cave. It's way better. I changed my mind about making it, more realistic. Like being able to see around in here is some percent of unnatural lighting because you wouldn't be able to see otherwise. Your eyes do adjust to the darkness. I thought about that. Or if you've got eyes that are properly working, at least you're in the dark and your eyes would adjust and you'd be able to see somewhat. So I thought about that and said, why don't I then turn the brightness a bit above, total darkness, and it'd still be realistic per se. And yeah, so that's what I did, and you can still see down here the video is still clear to some extent, as well as a lot of these areas you end up fighting in the nighttime. It's very dark and people will still be able to see what I'm doing. And I'm really skilled. But what's the sense of me being really skilled at Monster Hunter, making a series, and more than 60% of my viewers can't even see a thing that I'm doing because a lot of people wear glasses. I don't know. I've been gaming for as long as I can remember, and I never had to wear glasses. So it's talking about your eyesight diminishing over age. I'm like 31. I'm gonna expose that right here. I'm 31 years old and I've been gaming for more hours than a lot of people did in their lifetime. I'm quite sure because the video games saved me from a lot of dramas. I am sure. More on that maybe in a video in the distant future when I do a more personal synopsis, my character and stuff like that. Maybe what you call a video biography. I'll be detailing, but yeah, long story short, I personally think that I should be wearing glasses at this point, but I'm not. And but I'm quite sure a lot of other people end up that way. And why make it difficult to see my freaking videos at all? To see the footage, everything is dark as hell. Maybe that's why a lot of people will see them be turned off and don't continue watching at all. The views are gonna be low as hell. So yeah, you can see now. I should have been doing it from episode 1, but I really and truly I am a very technical person, all right, and I believe in adding something that either hasn't been done or is some form of improvement more so than a comfort, the highest comfort. Uh, if it's realistic, and plus this is not the poorest economy as much as they're going to make people to think that these days, are trying to, by raising the price on tech and holding. First they did it with food and now they're doing it with technology. They all these callbacks on food, they're keeping the good sources for themselves. and now they're doing it with technology. You know, everything using RAM as an excuse. All the AI using up the RAM, and everything that is a freaking computer that's going to need RAM went skyrocketed in price. So this economy is not as poor as a lot of people would want to make it to seem. So a lot of people do have access to this game, played this game, you know, to end, or as a British might say, played this game to bits already. So seeing something that's a little like creatively new, like for instance, this little green freaking sprite that I have here following me, lighting up the way. It is not realistic when you're on the outdoors and you can still see everything. It is useless. And I go in a cave and I can still see around. And this, what the hell is this thing for? I always question. So that's why I came up with the idea at all about using turning the brightness all the way down for the light exposure in the footage, so that, you know, when I'm in a cave or something, you're the only way you can see is where that little sprite is lighting up. I was fighting a Toby Kadachi in an episode before, and personally for me, that's gorgeous as hell, man. Like, and we're in this kind of dark area, like in a, you know, the back of this dark corner of the map, fighting Toby Kadachi, and the light is shining on Toby Kadachi, the perfect reflection of its scales. I do believe the game was even possibly made for that, but they changed their mind and brightened it up. Because if you're quite aware, the same people who made Resident Evil, also Capcom also made these Monster Hunter games, and Resident Evil is a horror game, but this is an action game. So I would not be surprised if they created this game with the idea of trying to darken things down as much as possible, and you're traversing with that little sprite outside around next to you, and this is the only way that you can see. You could, if you like the challenge, you want to go through every episode. I do place my full playlist in the description of the video at the bottom. You find that mission, that episode where I fought Toby Kadachi. You'd see what I mean. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. I was in a flooded forest fighting it, and that thing, when I saw that scene, I after recording my episodes, I do go back and watch them, reviewing in a sense that I could improve my future episodes, think about what the viewer is going through, how good the quality is. I do stuff like that, especially with the fact that I'm using cameras, and I have a very good reason for using camera as well. I find, sadly, that majority of humanity is like shallow-minded as hell. There's a lot of things that people should be able to think about these days. Very shallow-minded. We have AI, right? And there's something called copyright. If I do record my video games, all of them, in HD just because it looks good, my videos are more than likely going to be taken by copyright. They're more likely to be taken, snatched by copyright. They're the raw footage of the creator, like the game itself. But if I use a camera, right, it's going to be a lot more difficult for the AI to find my video and take it. These days that are nearing are not fun at all when it comes to content. I mean, video games that already PlayStation just announced the other day that they're done at creating this, and it's not for the reason that people think. It's because the games are too big. That's literally it. There's no other reason. But we are nearing a day where they're going to take everything. People are complaining and saying that now you own nothing when it comes to video games. It makes no sense. People cancel their PlayStation subscriptions. I was warning already that Sony's dying. There's also a money reason, because the material resources they need to constantly be printing Blu-ray discs is quite a lot. Blu-ray is not cheap. And Sony wasted a lot of dang money over the years, not creating enough games that belong to them. There's not enough Sony exclusive titles. They did something called Knack a few years back, and a Knack 2, and then they quit after that. I don't know, maybe the creativity isn't like shining like it did in the past before. It isn't really there. So yeah. Come on, Anjanath, come on. I want that armor, man. I want that suit. Oh Jesus! All right, so I'm gonna focus. I shouldn't be caught in a combo like that, at all. I'm way better than this. Come on. Stun, stun, stun. Jesus, come on. Alright. We got it toppled again. Get this combo off on that head. This should be capturing. This should be at capture state, I call it. Should be. There we go. I'm really good at calculation and timing and stuff like that. You know, you can see the numbers on the screen. I've got a really fast head, really fast brain. Alright, so let's go with the shot trap. I don't think it should run. It only recently came up here. And yeah, there we go. That's in 30 minutes. I did quite a lot. I captured that Arzuros mission. Got some materials that could possibly make an Arzuros armor set if I do want. I guess there's possibly, nah, the game wouldn't give me enough time for sure. There's only 10 seconds already. Time is moving way too fast now in programming. Like, I think the most recent update that they switched to got maybe tweaked the timer in it, you know, that, you know, is following the air speed quite fully now, and the time goes by way too fast now. It's crazy. You literally can't do anything after like taking a monster out unless the game gives you 50 seconds or more. You could do nothing, and that's terrible. That's awful as hell. All right, so got that captured. I'm going to do the license quest now. You know, some episodes are going to be slower than others because, you know, like I keep saying, Capcom is crazy as hell. And, you know, there's always some shit to do. Alright. Well, I've heard you've been helping out around town. Kimura is like one big family. And when you help out the people of Kimura, you are helping out all of Kimura. You remember that. Now about your reward. I've asked the smithies to offer you some equipment that'll remind you of Kimura. Keep it up now. Alright, so medium's garb, channeler's garb. Alright, so I'm going to definitely go right now and look at those, because we've got a smithy right here. All of them take the same materials and supplies. So, armor, it should be Gossarai, huh? Alright, so just previewing these. That's how it looks. And that defense, 30. You're kidding me. Gossarai is 30. Gossarai is 30. Decent ice defense. The fire resistance is total shit though. Like fighting the Anjanath with this on would have been total hell. Alright, so there's the Anjanath. Anjanath is 26. That's how it looks. And medium and a channeler, these are 24 each. Quite useless to me, to be honest. You know, we're looking for the best armor we can muster right now. 28. And I'm currently in some Magnamalo armor, so that would be the, Jesus, so much already. Jesus, it's like pushed all the way down. Alright, can't be there. It is, which one? Right, so Sinister, right? And I've got 2 more to build. I need some shells, some Magnamalo shells. I only got 1. Ho. Alright, so forge, upgraded weapon, and where the hell is the Magnamalo tree? Alright, so I've got to get some blades and some shells. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to advance on this. I need this weapon. I really do need this because the majority of the monsters I did find either weak to blast and or ice. And this is a blast weapon. This is going to be very useful going through the hub. So I'm going to go and fight some Magnamalo, and I do have to slay it. So, you know, looking at both the armor right now and the weapon, I do need it could be so easy to get to get like confused whilst playing this. It's too much things you're going to be scrolling through all at once. So I need a shell for this. I need one shell, so that's one shell, and I do need 2 more shells. So I just need 3 shells for the completion of my armor. Then I'm gonna go upgrade that as quickly as I can. And for the weapon now, I do need 2. So the thing about these weapon trees is that sometimes you can't just forge the weapon right off the bat. You need to have it linked to something else. But this one is by itself, luckily. Like for instance, this Lagombi tree, you first have to have this one here from the bone tree. That's a simple one, so that isn't too bad. But yeah, some of them are linked. So now I need 2 blades, and so I need 2 blades and a shell. So I need 4. I need 4 shells, and I need 2 blades. All right, that's definitely it. 4 shells and 2 blades because. All right, so back to armor again. 4 shells and 2 blades because this is 1, this is 2. Yeah, so 4 shells and 2 blades. So we're gonna go then and review in the hunter's notes. Arzuris is one of the big guys, so he's gonna be, got me saying Arzuris. Magnamalo is one of the big ones. It's gonna be down here. Materials. So I need 4 shells, and shells are more so received when you carve. And that's where my finger is. A carve is when you know a monster is dead and you're carving from it, because if you capture it, you can't carve. You're already going to get a bonus of items anyway. So we've got to be slaying this Magnamalo quite a lot. I need 4 of those. And the blades, oh my bad, the blades you more so get from let's see, yeah, carbs as well, but it's a very low percentage, like 16%. This is bad. I don't know if I'm gonna, this episode more likely then is gonna be me just fighting Magnamalo a bunch of times, so you'll get to see that. Magnamalo is a part of these. This is the 5-star village quest, so this isn't going to be too much of a challenge. It's going to be quite a balanced. This isn't going to take too much time then. I'm going to fight this. So I'm going to fight it 3 times. And I'm going to slay it every single one of those times. So that I could get, you know, the maximum gain from having that taken out. Alright, so I definitely used up all of those that I had. I've got to craft them. I need some parashrooms. For sure, I do need some parashrooms. So, I can only make like 20 right now without cutting my, you know. Please tell me that I've already unlocked the ability to, you know, further my submarine amount. Please do tell me. Alright, so I get just those things. Alright, something tells me. There we go. Mercenaries are back, so I get my materials. Those are random, pretty much. Can't do anything about that. But let's see, that's a Raphalos. This is another way to kind of speed up your gaining of materials. Raphalos materials, Anjanath materials, Gossarag. Alright, so let me see. Select destination. I think I saw a Gossarag, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe my eyes are just, you know, I'm wishing that I see one. Yeah, there we go. So I'm gonna use this one for sure. And yeah, it should be fine. Alright. Doing way too much all in one episode, to be honest. All these things, like this game really is not designed for short episodes. This is a streamer game. There's always so much that you're doing. Alright, so those are blue mushrooms. I want to change those over to, if anything, sleep herbs and or parashrooms, but I can see that I really do need more sleep herbs, so it's going to be those. I can just start the mission from here after already checking what I did. So I've got to take this thing down 3 times. Then I have enough materials for maximizing my armor, as well as gaining my maximum assisting weapon. I'd say the most helpful weapon that I could create right now for the first six, for the 6-star quest of the Hunter Hub. You know, until I get there, that Magnamalo weapon is going to be quite useful. All right. Just about everything is going to be weak to that, so definitely need to be forging that. I need some blades from this thing, and like I just reviewed and showed, we've got to be slaying this thing. No capture. You've got to kill it. And it's like too many times. Then I have to be taking out Magnamalo for that. So this is going to take quite a while. Maybe even after this, I'm already 40 minutes in. This is stressful as hell. I'm already 40 minutes in, and I didn't even take it down once yet. I did too much in one episode. So into the next episode, maybe I'll take it down once or twice here. I'll take it down twice here, take it down once in the next episode, and then move on from there. Alright. Let's go, puppy. So I've got a really cool DLC suit for this. It should be unlocked. I don't think I have to do anything to unlock it. It's like just a DLC set that you download. I run around in my personal playthrough. I use the Amaterasu from Okami, the PS2 classic. That Sun Goddess dog. Making your Palamute look just like it. Quite cool. And there's that, and then there's one that could make your Palamute to look like a Velkhana. That ice unicorn monster from Monster Hunter World Iceborne. You can get your Palamute to look like one, like a baby one, if anything, because yeah, it's still gonna be tiny to an actual Velkhana. But yeah, so over here. Great, there's nothing up there. So once there's nothing up there, the scale lizard that I do commonly use. Sometimes there's one here, nothing there. Sometimes there's one up there and on the rock that I just went to. Alright, so back over here, and there's a reason why. Just to follow the route. Come on, pup. Hurry up. Leave that ore for some bit, and it just rush this. 42 minutes in. I want to get some so I'll take this down twice here. I do have double the amount of memory, so I can make maybe an hour and a half maybe in time with this episode, and then move on. And my videos should be safe. My videos should be kind of safe, being that they're cam recordings and they're not raw like video feed recordings like everyone is doing just because they're prettier. Everything that I do, I have calculated. I do know what I'm doing. Alright, I really do know what I'm doing. Alright, so this is definitely good enough quality, and better, I'd say, than if someone, because you get to see not only a game in its native look, like how it'd be more so in person, but also, like I said, better lighting and stuff. All the extra glow and stuff takes away from the realism, and maybe, like I mentioned earlier in this episode, what I think the developers were actually going for. Because why the hell else would you have a sprite next to the hunter? Look at this. It's literally lighting up the way down here. You can see nothing else easily unless you're watching where the sprite is. It's literally lighting the way for the hunter. I have the type of brain that thinks about things like that, things that a lot of other people totally miss. I'm always looking at. I've been studying some battle video footage of Monster Hunter Wilds. Don't ask. I'm so freaking excited for that on Switch 2. It's gonna be awesome as hell. People underestimate Nintendo a bit too much, man. Nintendo has always been a genius. So I mentioned this in some posts and some episodes. I'm a pro Nintendo fan, also, but for many reasons, not just because I grew up on Nintendo video games. I could have easily swapped over to PlayStation and got a PlayStation 3 or something amongst my time. But I stuck with Nintendo because I noticed something that I'm quite sure a lot of people do miss. Nintendo is genius as hell. I'm gonna put it like that. First things first. All right. These people do not kid around. All right. So since the Super NES, the Super Nintendo Entertainment System, what they were doing, they were perfecting. This is like, I kid you not. This is, as you know, when the Super NES came out. If you're old enough, that you know about the system at least, and you looked at it. I had a NES. I think in my, was that a Super NES or a NES? I'm quite sure it was a NES that I had. And the Super NES now literally displays on televisions at 60 hertz. All right, so it's not 30 hertz, it's not 40 hertz, and there aren't much other systems that did that, that were displaying raw 60, raw, like, undisturbed, constant 60 hertz per second, Super NES. So they were perfecting display speed already. And every system after that took what was perfected and advanced on it. So it was this patient progression of like technology, and that's it for the Super NES, right? Then after the Super NES was the, I'd say when it comes to advancement, was the 64. Now, the 64 advanced easily on polygons, like 3D polygons, like having them, because when you look at other systems like the PlayStation 1 and stuff, yes, they use polygons, but then the polygons, polygon, I'm talking about 3D models and stuff, right? 3D technology for graphics, right? They are very, I'd say, foggy and or like unstable. Like when you look at Final Fantasy 7, for instance, on PlayStation 1, the graphics were like very choppy. But the 64, it was like as clear as day. It was clear, 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 very clear. And you could easily, especially Star Fox 64, you could make out whatever is there, and it's going to be crisp color. Everything else, they perfected polygons, right? So that's 64. Then after 64, they started working heavily on handheld. So believe it or not, a Game Boy Advance is a handheld Super NES, and that's, it's supposed to be 60 hertz, but the Game Boy Advance, for reasons, but they perfected having the Super NES system running on a handheld. And after that, then was the Nintendo GameCube. Now, the Nintendo GameCube did something quite awesome that a lot of people, unless you're someone who focuses on technical details, you would not know this. Maybe you'd live and die and never know this. But the Nintendo GameCube, we all know at least that the discs are tiny as hell. All right, a Nintendo GameCube disc is like way smaller than a freaking DVD. If you're someone who was well into computering back in the day, you'd know that sometimes the disk drive of the computer would have a slot for a big disk, and it'd have a slot in between there for tiny disk, called a CISO, and those are really tiny because they didn't have much data on them. They didn't need the package. What a lot of companies did, they packaged the files. Maybe the installation file is huge, but to save memory and stuff like that, they would have it compressed on the disk, and there'd be a program maybe built into the disk that would have it decompressed and put onto the computer. Like Nintendo, being a smart ass and a genius, they used that with their video games. It would help with, the discs don't have to be that big. They could save money on developing and producing discs. Like since the Nintendo GameCube, I can assure you, Nintendo's been saving money. Nintendo's been thrifty of their money since 2002, 2001, because that's when the GameCube was, finalized, 2001. So what makes it genius and like really useful for learning how systems work and developing and making perfect systems over time? The GameCube does what you call compression, like file. It does some very smart file compression. You take a file, and you could do so on a PC or a mobile now, or a cell phone, where you give it a unique. Jesus Christ, where is it? Come here. Got it. So, like I mentioned in the previous episode, these things do steal your freaking items from you. I was able to take it back though, thankfully, in time. All right, come on, buddy. We're leaving. So they do a unique type of foul compression. Jesus. So I'm looking for Magnamalo. You are not my target. I'm sorry, we're leaving. Use this in the early. Grab myself. I mean, it could time out even before I get, good use. Topple the Magnamalo, anything like that. So 50 minutes in, holy shit. No way. Yeah, so time does fly when you're... Alright. So there's file encryption, a unique type of unique file encryption. And, the file gets not only encrypted, it gets compressed into a smaller file size. And actively, whilst the game is running, right, the system, believe it or not, is constantly decrypting the compressed files on the disk. So a GameCube is way more powerful than you might think. I think, honestly, people say not, but the GameCube is actually more powerful than a freaking PS2. A lot of people do not know this, but this is where, after the GameCube though, I'd say is where Nintendo slowed it down a bit, that they could actually continue to actually save money. Like for instance, definitely hell no, the Nintendo Wii is not as powerful as the PlayStation 3. Nintendo didn't give a hell about competing technical wise. They focused on their games. But I'm not finished with the GameCube as yet, alright? With the GameCube now, the system is fast enough and complex enough to constantly decrypt and, whilst the game is running, decrypt the game and hold it in memory. So it isn't reading from the disk anymore. Most of the game is literally in the internal and just, running there. Bigger games like Mario Kart, Double Dash and stuff, the GameCube is still constantly reading from the disk. But there's smaller games. They took Animal Crossing 64 and just ported it to Nintendo GameCube and Nintendo GameCube version. Once you load the game knowingly, there are a lot of games that do this actually. Once you load the game, you start the game up, the Animal Crossing for GameCube, you can actually take the disc out of the GameCube and just continue playing the game. A lot of people did this. They might have started their game and then given the game back to someone, and they've got that game for the rest of the day until their freaking system turns off, because the GameCube has literally the entire game loaded into memory. I kid you not, this is real, alright? So this is the 2001 system that Nintendo made all those years ago, 2 decades ago or more, alright? So that's the GameCube, right? Very powerful, constantly decrypting data and decompressing data and loading, right? So they perfected that. And then they launched after the GameCube was the Game Boy Advance, right? But I skipped ahead quite a bit. Oh, the Game Boy Colors and stuff like that. Game Boy Color, Game Boy. But those were working on a color and a pixel. So a lot of games, a lot of systems they made, over time, there's a lot of systems that came about and were created that use pixel art. But the pixels always somehow relied on like a very slow frame rate, or the color and stuff wasn't as constant. They made perfect pixel art representation with the Game Boy Color. They're proud of it, so they even named it, part of the name is based on that, the Game Boy Color, right? And after that, then I already mentioned the Game Boy Advance. The Game Boy Advance is a handheld Super NES, so they ported over some Super NES games like Yoshi's Island, stuff like that. There's even an Earthbound, the video game Earthbound on Game Boy Advance, but it was Japanese exclusive. It was Japan exclusive. It didn't launch on the Game Boy Advance in the West. There's a fan translation for it. Yeah, if I've been able to keep the wire bug that I picked up earlier, there's one down here too, but yeah, I would have been able to bump that thing's head like 4 times instead of 3. Ah, Jesus, I got toppled. Shit. Alright, so the Game Boy Advance does a lot of processing, because it's literally a Super NES in handheld mode. Yes, it's a slower display speed, but it's a freaking Super NES. as well. Then the Wii, no, the Wii, the Wii does something very unique as well. What the Wii does, the Wii perfected the emulation. All right, so like how you'd have a computer and you'd be emulating Game Boy Advance on it, Super NES. The Wii was the first system to bring about the virtual console system. It didn't start on the Wii U. It did not start on the 3DS. It started on the Wii, right? A lot of people who got a Wii, they already know. Maybe they might have been talking about it, and people probably be, being encouraged to think that Nintendo is a bunch of arse. So no, Nintendo is genius as hell. So what they did, you could have easily bought, like for instance, there was Game Boy, not Game Boy. There was Super NES games on there. There was NES games on there. Just about everything that is, a classic and valuable Nintendo 64. Believe it or not, a lot of freaking systems were on there. There was Sega Genesis. Was Sega Genesis as well in the Wii shop, the Wii store. Yeah, but long story short, the Wii perfected emulation. So when you're playing these games, the game isn't just loading their files. The Wii literally turns itself into a Super NES. Whilst it's running the Super NES games, it boots the BIOS, and it's a literal Super NES for that point in time. When you're playing Nintendo 64 games on the Wii, it literally turns itself into a Nintendo 64, and it's like a Nintendo 64 for that point in time. So they perfected what I call BIOS transmission. All right, it's changing itself into the system it's running, the game it's running, and it's going to be running exactly as. So you have the full 60 hertz and stuff like that when running, playing Super NES games. No sort of lag on the screen. It's like perfectly displayed, that sort of shit, right? Awesome. So that's the Wii. And after the Wii, we had what system, right? If you can remember, you know we had the 3DS and the Wii U, if I'm not skipping anything. So after the Wii was the Nintendo DS, right? Now the Nintendo DS is a handheld. Or I've got it. I barely ran away from that. That was close as hell, believe it or not. I barely made it. Alright, so I don't think this thing is running. Let's go. Alright, so capturing this. That's one. I'm going to capture one more, and then I'm going to capture another in the other episode after this. So the Wii is a perfect MU. It uses disc and the V motion and stuff like that. So it's been practicing virtual representation, emulation. All right, perfected that even, because it seamlessly switches itself between, and I guess that's how they came up with the idea for Switch as well. They made money off of it, because I mean, you bought from the shop, but with the Nintendo Switch, just skipping ahead for a bit to speak about that, the Nintendo Switch, you have to have the online payment subscription service, to play games online, to have access to any of those games at all, those classic games. But yeah, after that, then after the Wii was the DS came out, then there's Wii actually. But the Nintendo DS is a handheld Nintendo 64. So they were perfecting the that's why we got games like Super Mario 64 DS. Is like they found a way to compress the 64 games even more in the Nintendo 64 and have them running well on so we had Diddy Kong Racing 64. We had Super Mario 64 DS, 64 games were ported to the Nintendo DS. Quite awesome, right? So it's a 64 with more polished graphics. That's why you don't get all the dirty graphics. And then the DS came out, like I told you, that happened, and we got Wi-Fi, stuff like that. The first Mario Kart to use Wi-Fi is the Mario Kart DS, believe it or not. So they've been actively working on their technology while saving money. They don't have to have the latest technology, but they've been advancing on what they can, really perfecting having the tech perfected before they even use it. They don't go rushing ahead like Sony was. Sony used DVDs with the PlayStation 2, then they instantly jumped to Blu-ray with the PlayStation. They always wanted to be ahead of Nintendo for whatever reason, and I quite know why. uh, uh, Sony had their ego hurt in the past because I think Nintendo refused them. They had some plan to, like, Sony was making a disc drive for the 64, and Nintendo refused it because at that time discs were not perfected at all. There'd be a lot of issues and problems, and there were a lot of issues and problems. I think the PlayStation 3 and the PlayStation 4 at launch had disk drive problems when the systems launched. Some of these systems came because they're very fragile in that sense. Then they had to perfect their disk drives that, further models of the PS3 and PS4 would not have issues. But Sony, long story short, Sony made some really ridiculous risks that Nintendo was not about. Nintendo's, well, I'm not doing this. I'm very sorry. And it kind of hurt the ego that Sony had, and Sony went ahead and was like, I'm gonna better you every move I do make. I'm like a little kid that's been, like, tipped off. So every year since, Sony has been fighting to keep ahead of Nintendo, and it kind of killed them, I do admit, because that's exactly what killed Sony right now. We have this economy. We're now in a time where, they say night can fall until day catches it, right? Night can run until day catches it, my bad, right? Maybe that works too. Night could fall until day catches it. That actually makes a lot more sense. Night could fall until day catches it. Anyway, so the Sony systems were definitely pushing too much money just to be, oh, I've got all these graphics, come buy my system. Leave Nintendo. No, Sony was being the most rival you could ever imagine, and pushing their money, pushing their money, pushing their money. So now that we're in days where saving and being thrifty is very important, Sony cannot afford to do that without making losses. The stocks have dropped enough already in the past 2 years, because they had to raise their price. Nintendo's been saving money for so many decades legally, because there's no law stating that your system has to be the most powerful for that age. If they ever put that law, then Nintendo would have been out of the race ever since. But it's legal to have a system that is just as powerful. Once people are buying it, and you're making sales, you're good to go. All right. So Sony, I almost said Sony. Nintendo saved money since the Nintendo GameCube for years. All right. So then after the DS, then was the Wii, and after the Wii was the 3DS and Wii U. But the 3DS first. The 3DS now has use of every single thing that was perfected in the era of the freaking in the era of the Nintendo system since Super NES. They're games that can run at 60 hertz, right? Are they? Or are all of them 30 hertz? Right? There's some that can run at 60, including DS titles. The screen is capable of projecting DS games at their full potential on there. There's some games that run at raw 60. I was surprised, especially Animal Crossing. The system now uses a literal encryption language that is unique to every system. So if someone, let's say for example, the original model, not the new Nintendo 3DS model, was to remove, try stealing a friend's Nintendo 3DS SD card, and they go home thinking that they could load the games that the person don't know. Every system literally has its own encryption language, and files on that card can only be viewed by the very system that made them. So if you bought a game on your 3DS or whatever, you can be sure that it's quite safe, because the encryption language of every file on your 3DS's SD card is unique to your 3DS and your 3DS alone. That could be confirmed and freaking, like, insured. All right, so no one can steal your data easily. They'd have to have, and even if they had a modified 3DS, it still wouldn't be able to see the data. It'd have to be uniquely installed via the modified system. So there's no way that someone could, literally steal your data. The 3DS has this advanced decryption, encryption, and it does this all whilst running the games in full 3D, right? Using the 3D graphics as well, no lagging. The 3DS system is awesome as hell. It's a console. It's the first handheld that is literally confirmed to be a console. Believe it or not, it is not a handheld like the Game Boy and the DS were. It is a full. It is considered a console. Like how you have a GameCube and you have a Wii. The 3DS is literally a handheld Nintendo Wii. So there was Donkey Kong Country Returns on Nintendo Wii. there is Donkey Kong Country Returns 3D. For those who don't know about that, because they relaunched that on Nintendo Switch as Donkey Kong Country Returns HD, and they recently made a Switch 2 edition of that as well, where it's even more revamped. But believe it or not, is also on Nintendo 3DS as a 3D version. So there's that. What else do I have as proof that it's a Wii? I can only think about Donkey Kong Country Returns right now, but there's that. And because it's a Wii, and the Nintendo Wii already perfected, 64 emulation, they went a step further and made some remakes of some classical, beloved games. So there's Star Fox 64 3D on there, believe it or not. This is why I think Nintendo is actively jabbing at the 3DS right now, because a lot of people realize how awesome the 3DS is. So the 3DS has every single virtual console, every single Nintendo system, and more. There's the Turbo Graphics. There's the Sega Genesis. Yeah, believe it or not, every system, including the 3DS has all of them except for the Nintendo 64 on there. All right, there even the Game Boy Advance got titles launched on the original Nintendo 3DS. The new Nintendo 3DS added because it has a slightly faster CPU and stuff like that. Added the Super NES titles, but the NES titles are also on the original 3DS. Nintendo is smart as hell. It's smart as hell. And a lot of people would go about their entire lives possibly and never know how intelligent, genius, and awesome Nintendo is. So the 3DS has every system on there, like I just said, the except for the Nintendo 64. So they went ahead and remade the 64 games in 3DS graphics, and now all of a sudden we got Star Fox on Switch 2. Now it's been announced that they're remaking Ocarina of Time 64 and Majora's Mask are already on Nintendo 3DS. They've got 3D versions on the Nintendo 3DS, believe it or not. Yeah, so a lot of people went ahead and bought Nintendo 3DS systems for themselves in 2026, in 2025, because they realize everything, the prices are going up, and this is a very stressful economy, and Nintendo is actively trying to jab at that, trying to get people to get to buy the Nintendo Switch 2. The Nintendo Switch 2 is very much worth it. It still has the quickest sales of a console, the second best. I think the Game Boy Advance, whatever system it is that sold fast, some other systems sold, but the fastest selling in all of history in a certain amount of time is the Nintendo Switch 2, to be honest. Like, in less than a month, I think they went over a few million. You know, in less than a year, it was even further than that. Yeah, so, like, Nintendo is still pushing Nintendo is still pushing quality, I'd say, over should I say quality? Nintendo's still pushing, yeah, definitely quality, because the issues that rushing technology would have had, rushing technology into a PS4 or stuff that the systems had at launch and stuff like that. Nintendo never has. The systems are always definitely perfect. The Nintendo Wii never had disk drive issues. Like, there's some disk drive issues even Xbox 360 had, and stuff like that over time. So, Nintendo is serious as hell. So after the Wii U, right? You know, the 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 after the Wii, right? The Wii U now, the 3DS and then the Wii U. The Wii U does what do you call it now? The Wii U has there's something called VRR, where a television is not it's not a VRR, but I'd say it's quite similar. Whenever it changes with the virtual console, believe it or not, the Nintendo Wii U was actively, and when I say actively, I mean actively changing its display speed to as much as possible, right? Match the display speed of whatever game it's running. It's comparable to VRR, but it's I'd call it I nickname it internal VRR, but technical people would never call it that. But that's what it is. Variable refresh rate. It could quickly at any time change to a display speed that it needs. That's what the Wii U's actively doing when playing the DS games on there. I was shocked with that one. The DS games in there, Wii games, of course. The full library And the Switch now, the Nintendo Switch after the Wii U advanced by perfecting. When I say perfecting, I mean perfecting. This is like literally perfecting uh, the emulation scene of its older systems to the point that the system is it can't you're playing a freaking 64 game on your Nintendo Switch. Whilst the Nintendo Switch is running that 64 game, you cannot call it a Nintendo Switch. What it has done is it literally fully emulates the environment a Nintendo Switch uses for running that game. Uh, Everything else, it is like if you're a technical person who knows about it, you know to look at the code and stuff. You know the Nintendo Switch has been out for years enough, since 2016, about 10 years. So the system has had like full, uh, you'd say, technical market activity. It's been around for a while, and the Switch 2 is out now. Um, the Switch 1 is impressive as hell. And if you've got a V2 Nintendo Switch, like if you look at the back, you see like this model number HAC01, and you see another extra 01 after that in brackets, dash, open bracket, dash 01, close bracket. Then you have a V2 that has a slightly better battery than the first Nintendo Switch 1 model. It has a better screen. It is a bit faster CPU wise. You're lucky as hell, alright? Um, I do have one, thankfully, and yeah. So the Switch One is awesome as hell already. So this is where the Switch 2 is proven something valuable as hell. And instantly there's a division between knowing who's a person that is knowledgeable about technology and who isn't. The moment they announced the Nintendo Switch 2, people instantly knew that that system is going to be a god, and it makes no sense. By god, they mean like technically capable as hell, and it would make no sense not having one. So the Nintendo Switch 1, like I said, perfected the emulation of the older systems. So the Switch 2 has gone a step further from that. This thing has, I think, like 20 something, 30 something, 30 something. I think it's 30 something or 20 something, whichever one, of CUDA cores, AI CUDA cores inside. And it changes itself into the system that it's running like flawlessly. There's still been some per second changes and stuff like that in the background of the you call it BIOS when the Switch does it. Like very few little differences and changes, but you are literally playing a Nintendo 64 when you're using Switch 2 and using the online access. And it's been so perfected that although the Switch 1 is only the previous system, they I'm gonna get to my nitty gritty of the what I'm trying to explain to you here, talking about all of this technical Nintendo stuff again, because I did speak about this in a video that I made a while back already. But the Nintendo Switch only launched just before the Nintendo Switch 2, and the Nintendo I'm playing this is on the Nintendo Switch 2, to be honest, right? And I'm playing in handheld mode. And this is projecting what it would be the TV resolution for Nintendo Switch in handheld mode. So Nintendo is beginning to jump ahead. I was worried, but the margin isn't too small at all. They're still making some profits because the controllers and stuff are not as expensive to make. Thankfully, the Nintendo controllers are very advanced, believe it or not, but the Sony technology, because they're actively working alongside a lot of the companies that created for Sony, and Sony controllers are not as advanced per se, because Sony did a lot to hold on to technology. The PlayStation 5, the DualSense 5 and stuff like that, yes, they're advanced controllers, but they didn't jump ahead of the controllers before them that much. Like everyone is just like one step ahead. Jesus, this ain't good. That was close, I guess. So the the Nintendo Switch 2 does not natively run Switch 1 games. This is literally emulating. This is turning itself into a Nintendo Switch 1 via emulation. And that is why I think that is also why the Switch 2 Joy-Cons are not slow with I don't get slow input, like say I'm playing something like Street Fighter 6 and a native Nintendo Switch 2 video game or anything. But if I'm playing a Nintendo Switch 1 game like this or maybe Mario Kart or something, I do notice a slight little delay on the input speed because it's actively emulating and the game is not created to work with a Joy-Con 2, so there's going to be a slight delay input. And this game, you can see, every input counts. You know, you've got to be, every input is very important. Every button press is very important. So I definitely need as fast a control as possible. So, well, because this is making itself a Nintendo Switch 1, it's a lot easier on the system to use a Nintendo Switch 1 Joy-Con instead of a Switch 2. Oh god. I haven't been focusing enough. I don't know. Maybe it's, yeah, the cat knocked it over. Thank God. So yeah, it's talking about all this, and it definitely runs. All right, let me pick these up quickly, and after this, I'm gonna end the episode off. Maybe see if I can make the armor at least first, and then end the episode off for sure. So I'm gonna slay this thing. Wait, I captured it before, right? Holy shit! I captured. I didn't slay it, right? Shit. Alright, so I've gotta kill this thing, man. Refuse the need to capture. So it's so automatic for me, you know, like capturing these things, man. I wasn't, you know, talking or rapping off. YouTubing is not as easy as it seems at all. At all. You've got to be really good at whatever that you don't end up, you know, making a 2-hour freaking video. Okay, it wasn't at me, I guess. You're dead. Like that little boy that told one of the main characters in Stranger Things, told him, "You're dead, pow." Shooting at him, a black little boy. That was hilarious. And Hopper was like, "Alright, yeah, you got me." That's what I'm doing, you know. Reference to that. You're dead, Magnamalo, you're dead. The little boy was in a cowboy, because, you know, I'm saying all that without any freaking, any context at all. The little boy was in a cowboy outsuit playing cowboy, and he shot at Hopper, and he was like, "You're dead," with his toy gun. Alright. Alright, so, Jesus. Alright, so get that health back up. Jesus, man. That was close. These things are so intelligent, it isn't funny. So yeah, you know how difficult it is to emulate a game or a system as advanced as a Nintendo Switch flawlessly. That is literally what the Switch 2 is doing. Yeah, so I give it an excuse for having like maybe some questionable controller performance with the Switch 2 control, but alright, let me focus, let me continue focusing and get this thing renegade lead using some Barbadian slang where I'm from. Alright, come on. Ah. Ah. Alright, Jesus. I ain't fighting properly. Because I'm worried, like, I'm so close to peak for the freaking... Actually not, because I did make sure to, you know, erase the previous episode, keep that memory up. There we go. So it's Slade. Please game, please game, please game. Stop with the stupid camera. Game. Thank you. Shit, man. Alright, let me try carving, see what I get. I'm gonna have a bonus as well. Alright, so a shell. Sweet. I need that. Scale, or come on, shell. Oh my god. Ghost prison. So hopefully I get some more shells in the, you know, on the reward screen. Use this. I don't have to do this, but I just like doing this. Get off. You know, emulating being all ready for any surprise hunt. Yeah. even whilst going back to base or camp or village or whatever, you'd make sure that your weapon is set, your health is up to par and stuff, in case you have a surprise mission you've got to jump into right after that you're ready. Yeah, that's much a militant mind, right? Yeah. All right, so I definitely, I think I got some. I should have been looking, but let's see what I can get now after that. That's like 2 times. That's like 2 times, yeah, and I'm definitely gonna finish. I'm gonna take it down one more time in the episode after this. You've been busy, so what's this? I get some tickets, brown, so it gotta be tickets. Ah, just the hunter I wanted to see. Why? Well, lately you've been going through quests faster than he knows because your boss of damage says that every time. So yeah, I got a Chimera ticket. And that gives us more access to weapons and stuff like that. There's certain things that do ask for those. So let's see. Let me check the armor first. And what can I get? So yeah, definitely both of them. Oh, I definitely got enough shells. So yeah, that's it. That's it. I've got 9. I can make the weapon and the armor. So let's go. Alright. And I'm going to go ahead, upgrade. Back over here. And maxing this thing out. So that is, this needs, I think I do use this. And then 2 of these. Alright. So upgrade this. And then 2 of these. Alright, so these are maxed out now. I've got the full Magnamalo armor. And then the forge weapon. And I'm going straight for Magnamalo, of course. There we go. So, create you. Forge. Yes, I'm equipping this right now. And we haven't even unlocked the upgrades yet. So then I go on ramp up weapon. And this weapon that I currently have, I'm going to give it the attack boost 136. It isn't 154 blast boost or the attack boost. And what does the Magnamalo soul do? Increases attack when afflicted by hellfire status. Okay, interesting. Quite interesting. Alright, so that's it for this episode. If you enjoyed, I'm going to move on to the, I'm going to do this. I was thinking not, but I'm definitely going to think about doing this. I don't know. Because it will disappear if I do move on, you know, just for the challenge and stuff like that. I'm going to do this in that license test in the next episode. If you enjoyed, remember to leave a like, click that like button, leave a comment as well, if you do please. And that button that says subscribe, that's a follow button for those of you who do not know. It should be saying follow because all you're doing is following my YouTube channel. You'll be notified whenever I create new posts and our videos, and they're uploaded here. So yeah. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or good night, whenever and wherever you're watching. This has been Mr. Pokemon 907. Until next episode, yeah. Laters.